Hello and welcome to episode 108 of Driver Seat Blog Radio. As always, I'm your host, David G. Firestone. So we're just going to do a one-segment episode this week. I've been off for a few days. I've been sick for a few days. And before we get to the meat of the matter, let me just address the podcast last week, because I did a segment on Jennifer Crumbly. Now, I'd recorded it before the day the verdict was announced, and I was been a little sick for the last few days, so I never got a chance to re-record. I'm satisfied with the verdict. I stand by everything I said, and I hope her husband gets the same thing. So we're going to go on to the racing news. Now, our first story is that we have to address a report that came from NBC Sports on the redesign of Fontana Motor Speedway. According to a report by John Newby, link in the description, the redesign will not be ready for the 2025 season. The article states, quote, according to the Los Angeles Times, track president Dave Allen said the reconfigured track will, quote, most likely would not be ready for the start of the 2025 Cup Series season. Allen cited COVID and other factors that continue to push the timeline back. We've got some internal approvals to work through, but the hope is to have something to go out with sometime in the near future, Allen told the New York Times. Right now, we just don't have anything to discuss unless we have some approvals done. So I read both the NBC and the LA Times articles, and I have to wonder, could this kill Fontana entirely? It very well could. We've seen that you have one shot to have a good race on a new or a reconfigured track, and if you don't have a good race, it will turn the fans off. Look at what happened with the 2005 U.S. Grand Prix. Look at what happened with the 2008 Brickyard 400. If the damage done to the racing reputation is great enough, it could very easily kill Fontana. And I don't want to see Fontana die, but, sometimes there just aren't any other options. And again, speaking of options, it's not like when it comes to tracks, NASCAR doesn't have any. Look at the schedule now versus the schedule 5 or 10 years ago. There are plenty of other options that NASCAR could explore. Fontana needs to move heaven and earth and everything in between to fix their problems, get the work done, and get back on track, or this could spell the end of Fontana. And don't think it won't if the racing isn't good. So this next one is a rebrand of NASCAR Roots to NASCAR Regional. Now, according to NASCAR.com, link in the description, quote, NASCAR officially announced the launch of the NASCAR Regional Blend and Platform, which encompasses the touring and weekly series of NASCAR, the ARCA Menard Series East, ARCA Menard Series West, Well and Modified Tour, and Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series. NASCAR Regional debuted on Sunday during the season-opening Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum via a national television spot on FS1. Formerly NASCAR Roots, the regional brand and platform The regional brand and platform will better position the sport to grow awareness around those series. In addition, the rebrand ushers in a more organized and recognizable platform that provides concise sightlines and a ladder system for beginning to end. NASCAR stands on a foundation built by local short tracks and our touring series, and we couldn't be more excited to launch the NASCAR regional brand platform to highlight these important series, said Ben Kennedy Sr., Vice President of Racing Development Strategy. Their history runs deep, and the continued growth of these series is vital to NASCAR's success. This update better positions NASCAR to grow awareness around these series for many years to come. In addition to the announcement, a new website is available at NASCAR.com/regional with the latest news, ticket information, and schedules for the upcoming 2024 season and beyond. First off, I think NASCAR Regional is a much better brand name than NASCAR Roots. I mean, you can't even argue that. NASCAR Roots, what does that mean? NASCAR Regional, okay, that makes sense. Second, I think it would be a very, very wise investment if NASCAR started getting regional TV deals in local markets for their regional series. Because why wouldn't they? Why shouldn't they? I mean, say what you want about streaming. There's still a lot to be said about local TV. Look at the Super Bowl. 123 million people watched it. 120 on CBS. Streaming is still a thing, but regular TV ain't going away soon. And this will get a lot of eyes on the product. It'll get people who are maybe not even fans, just like tuning in on a Saturday afternoon. Oh, this looks like fun. Let's watch it. I mean, that's how a lot of fans in the 90s found out about NASCAR. Get as many eyes on the product. It'll get you good results. Because more eyes means better ratings. Better ratings mean more money. And right now, NASCAR is not in a good position when it comes to money, especially with teams, which is because of the NASCAR charter system, which we're now going to address. Obviously, it's very flawed, and the teams agree. Because according to Jennifer Fryer of APnews.com, link in the description, quote, NASCAR launches its new season with rivals attempting to dethrone Team Penske after 2 years atop the Cup Series, while an off-track battle over revenue threatens to overshadow competition. Teams report to Daytona International Speedway for the Sunday series opening Daytona 500 without a new agreement that's been a sore spot for months. Talks on extending the charter agreement, which is essentially a franchise system in the top racing series in the U.S., and we'll get to that in a few minutes, took a backseat to NASCAR's negotiations on the new $7.7 billion TV deal that begins next year. The current charter agreement extends through the end of the season. Teams declined to extend exclusive talks with NASCAR into February. They could theoretically race for another series if the situation deteriorates, though the challenges there would be immense. Members of the negotiating council say they want a fair share of NASCAR revenue, do not believe the TV deal was as lucrative as NASCAR expected, and believe teams are getting shut out of licensing agreements that should be shared. Denny Hamlin, the three-time Daytona 500 winner for Joe Gibbs Racing and co-owner of Michael Jordan with 2311 Racing, used his podcast to accuse NASCAR of using the TV package negotiations as a stalling tactic. We tried to start these conversations 2 years ago, and it's just been delay, Hamlin said. So now here we are at the end of the rope. Do I believe we are closer to a deal now than 12 months ago? I don't think so. Well, while a deal likely to be reached, NASCAR, after all, controls most of the major racing facilities in the United States. The discontent could make for a strained season, end quote. Look, the charter deal doesn't help anybody except for NASCAR. Maybe it helps some of the top teams, but it doesn't really help anybody except for the top teams. And even then, you can't even argue that they're doing well. Because even the top teams are struggling to make a profit. Teams and drivers are losing money hand over fist here, and any new deals are probably going to hurt the teams and drivers even more. It's kind of hard to fight with NASCAR, though. There was a theory made that these teams could race for another series if NASCAR deteriorates. This reminds me of Formula One saying they're going to pull out if they don't get their way. It's just nobody else. You're not going to start up another racing series. That you're not going to get TV deals instantly. You're not going to get merchandise deals very quickly. Look at what happened with SRX. They had all of that shit, and they still aren't able to put on a series this year. The bottom line here is also that NASCAR has all the cards. They own the cards, and they own the casino. The teams and drivers don't have the leverage that they think. Because again, NASCAR is non-union. So if these drivers just say, we're going to go drive for someone else, there's plenty of guys in the lower series that would be more than happy to step up. Believe me, the teams and drivers don't have leverage. They have some leverage, just not as much as they think. And I think whatever deal is going to come up is only going to hurt the drivers and teams and help NASCAR. I hope I'm proven wrong. I'm praying that I'm proven wrong, but I'm probably not wrong. So now we're going to get to something for our last story that I've wanted to talk about for some time. This was put out recently by the University of Pennsylvania Institute of Sports and Science. They recently put out a list of the most popular racing series per state. Now, there are a total of 8 racing series that are mentioned in this analysis. We're going to go from least to most in terms of number of states per series. Coming in at tied at number 6 are the ARCA Menard series, which is the most popular series in Wisconsin, and the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship, which is the most popular one in Missouri. Now, tied at number 5 are Formula E and IMSA, both with 2 states to their name. Formula E has Hawaii and Maine. IMSA has Georgia and Virginia. Now, number 4, with 3 states, the World of Outlaws NAS Energy Sprint Car Series, which includes Iowa, Pennsylvania, and North Dakota. Coming at number 3 is the NTT IndyCar Series, which has 9 states to its name: Colorado, Idaho, Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Vermont. Number 2 is Formula One, which has 10 states: Connecticut, Florida, Montana, New York, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, and West Virginia. And number 1 is the most obvious, the NASCAR Cup Series, which has 22 states as it's the most popular series in: Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Delaware, Illinois, Kansas, Louisiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, North Carolina, Ohio, Oregon, South Carolina, Washington, D.C., and Wyoming. Interestingly, the one outlier here is Utah, because they don't seem to have any data as to what is the most popular racing series in Utah. I'd love to know more about that. The one thing that I noticed is, really, outside of the fact that the Xfinity Series or the Truck Series isn't mentioned, is that there isn't that much to talk about here. Now, given recent events, I will say I don't find it shocking that Formula One isn't that big in Nevada. I also like the fact that IMSA, AMA, Formula E, World of Outlaws, and ARCA Menards do have at least one foothold, is a nice step. I'll be interested to see what these numbers are for 2024, because these were for 2023. And with that, I'm going to end this podcast now. I'm working on a few other things at the moment, so I'm kind of all over the place. So this was just a shorter episode, just to get something in. So I'll be back next week with my thoughts on the Daytona 500. And that's it. I'm Dave Farson. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.